Welcome to the Run the World podcast, episode 8.
Episode 8. We're getting close to double digits now.
I know, it's crazy.
It's awesome.
Sweet. And we're back at the regular location at our kitchen table.
Yeah, exactly. It is dumping snow right now outside. We have a window over there and it is snowing super hard right now. So we are snowed in.
Yep, we're kind of stuck. We had over a foot in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, it's been a lot of snow.
So it's crazy. So this might be the only thing we can do today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we're excited. We're going to be talking about nutrition in this episode and debunking some of the common nutrition myths.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to cover, and there's probably a lot more that we're not going to talk about just because there's an infinite amount of nutrition myths or just like good nutrition ideas. But these are some of maybe the hot topics that we thought would be most relevant to you.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of runners that I coach or just runners in general have a lot of nutrition questions. So if you have a nutrition question, put it in the comments and we can get back to you, or you can email us and we'll link our email in the description. And also we'll put timestamps at the bottom of this video if you want to move to any section of the video.
Yep. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Subscribing helps us a lot, and we've been shocked at how much it's grown in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Yeah. 1, thank you. 2, share it with your friends. If this is helpful to you, we're doing this because we love helping people reach their goals. So
yeah,
if it's been helpful to you, maybe pass it on to a friend.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit about where we're at in training because we haven't given a training update of ourselves in a couple weeks, and at least for me, some things are changing. Drew is starting his Boston build-up and stuff, so yeah, just going to talk about that for a little bit. For me, I signed up for my very first ultra marathon. I'm doing a 50K, which is just a little bit longer than a marathon, so I kind of like don't even feel good about calling it an ultra marathon because it's nothing like a 100-miler or anything like that, but it is farther than I've ever gone. So I'm doing a 50K called Formidable, and it's in Auburn, California, and hopefully it happens. I know that they've been having a ton of flooding, so hopefully the trails are clear and good to run on by the time the race rolls around in February. But that's what I've been training for, and so since it's snowing a ton up here, I've been going down to Sedona a lot for long runs and just getting to explore some of the trails down there, which has been really, really fun. There's some awesome trails in Sedona if you're a trail runner or just someone that's going to be there and explore around.
Yeah. What was the mindset of trying your first ultra?
Yeah, so I think I've just always done better, like the longer that things are. I feel like I just have like a natural endurance and stuff, and so I'm excited to explore that because I've kind of explored the track side of things and being really fast and stuff on the track, and so now I'm excited to explore the endurance side, which has kind of come more naturally to me, and I think it's also something that you have to work on because it does come naturally, but even if it does come naturally, you have to train to be able to run a 50K fast. So yeah, I think I'm excited just to try it, and yeah, it's a challenge for me too. So yeah, I'm really pumped to do it, and I think I want to get into ultras later on in my running career, like the really long ones and stuff, but for now, it's kind of nice just to be able to dip my toe in and see if I like it.
Yeah. It's nice to, this far into your running career, be able to mix it up and try something new.
Totally, yeah.
Because you don't always get that opportunity in other sports, but the nice thing about running is there's so many different distances, different surfaces, all that, and if you're willing to take risks, you can take risks and try new things.
Yeah, exactly. I think this year, most of my races will be marathon length or shorter. So I still am probably going to just focus on those shorter races this season, but I'm also mixing in a couple, 1 or 2 50Ks. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to figure out what my race schedule looks like for this year, which has also been really fun because I love just like looking at races and planning them out and seeing where I'm gonna get to go and explore. But I'm planning on focusing on some of the Golden Trail Series races, hopefully try to make a world team for the US because we have Worlds for Trail again this year in Austria. Last year it was in Thailand, so Austria this coming year, and hopefully I can make that team, and then yeah, doing some of the Golden Trail Series races and other fun ones around the world, hopefully.
Nice. Living the dream.
Yeah, living the dream. But in general, I'm really enjoying training. I'm getting in some long runs and some back-to-back long runs too. This past weekend I did a 20-miler on Friday, and then Saturday I did a 15-miler. So some longer long runs, trying to stack them back-to-back to make my legs strong. It's really hard, but I'm figuring out how to fuel well for them, which is part of nutrition that we can talk about today.
True. Yeah, you hit your first over 100-mile week in a little while, right?
Yeah, I hit 102 miles last week. So it was lots of running. Yesterday, I was really tired. I ran like 5 miles to cap out the week at 102. And then Drew and I just watched movies all day, the rest of the day. We watched Wild and Passengers.
And the internship.
Yep.
A weird array of movies.
A very weird array of movies, but some good, some meh. Yeah, but...
We love movies. I've watched way too many movies in my lifetime, so off topic, but if you ever want some recommendations, let me know.
Yeah, we actually watched the new Avatar a couple of days ago, and we timed it really, really poorly to where the blizzard started when we were in Flagstaff watching the movie, and then we drove back in this like giant blizzard, and we're driving super slow down the highway, like 30, 40 miles an hour, and trying to get home safe, and we did. We made it.
Really, the real truth of that statement is we planned it poorly because we went to the theaters to see Avatar.
Yeah.
That was the first mistake.
That was the first mistake. Yeah, we were not a fan of the movie. Very cool looking, but the side story about the whale for like an hour was tough.
It was like watching Nat Geo for an hour.
Yeah.
On a different planet.
Yeah. Maybe you have a different opinion, but we were not fans.
Yeah, good luck. Watch it. Changed my mind.
Yeah, let us know what you're thinking of the new Avatar movie. Yeah. But that's how my training started.
Yeah, my training is kind of, it was going really well, but then I was an idiot and I played tennis with some of my friends and I rolled my ankle serving because I was playing tennis in running shoes like an idiot. And it was just so dumb. Going into, this is just like another subject also, but you have to know like what you're training for and what you're willing to sacrifice in the build up to what you're training for. And to me, I've always had I'm focused in when I'm training for something and I push myself as hard as I can in training. But what I do, which is for better or worse, is I like to still say yes to some friendship things, you know? I still go to the school a lot and I'll play basketball with kids, or, you know, if a friend invites me to play tennis, I might play tennis. But you have to kind of like judge what those extracurricular activities will do to your body potentially.
Yeah.
And there's times where you do have to say like, no. Especially the closer you get to a big race or a big whatever you're training for. It's okay to say no to things. But it's also okay to have some balance in your life if running isn't I'm not a pro athlete like Rachel, so the difference between me training for an event as my job and her is a lot different.
Yeah, I always say no to soccer because I love it, but the risk of twisting my ankle is just way, way too high. Or not even that. I think someone kicking me in the shins is probably the worst thing that I could think of for that. Getting like, I don't know, wrecking my shin because I'm playing soccer.
Yeah, which has happened to me multiple times. I've come home very bruised from soccer. And I think it happens at the lower levels of soccer. I'm sure if you're playing like a high level of soccer where everyone has really good foot skills, it's one thing.
And where you're wearing shin guards.
And you're wearing shin guards as well.
But camp soccer, like we play.
Or I'll play soccer with kids and they're just like full out kicking as hard as they can without worrying about what they're kicking into.
Right. And sometimes it's your leg.
And sometimes your shin.
Yeah. Drew and I will go up to camp and do some shootouts sometimes with soccer, and that's really fun. So then I feel like I'm getting in some of the like fun soccer times without like wrecking myself for running. But yeah, I like soccer, but not to play while I'm intensely training for something.
Yeah, so it's tough. You have to make that decision. What's worth it? But I served a serve out wide. It was an ace, and then I landed on my foot and just rolled over it and sprained my right ankle.
Worth it for the ace?
No.
Absolutely not.
The pain was terrible for like 10 seconds, and then as soon as, the pain wasn't even over yet, and I was just like mad. I was like, why did I agree to go play tennis? Like in the beginning of the Boston build, I should have known better. Or I should have bought tennis shoes and played in tennis shoes. So I blame myself because that's the only person to blame. Yeah. But anyway, the training was going well. I think I was in like week 3-ish of the Boston build. And I had done some long runs. I had done a 14-miler on Lake Mary last weekend, which felt terrible, but like went well. I think I'm still adjusting the altitude a little bit. But I ran 2 miles yesterday, and I'll start running again this week. But I had to take like 3 days off, and I'm still not 100%. So
yeah,
not great. But then the strength side of the 250 project is going well again.
Nice, yeah.
It's crazy. Every time I can't run, my lifting goes up.
Wild how that happens. Very crazy. Yeah, well, I'm excited for Drew's build for Boston, and I think that this build is just going to show a lot of perseverance because it seems like since the summer, he's kind of had setback after setback in training. And so I just think that this shows a lot of perseverance about how you can do really hard things and you can work through tough things. And not every training block is perfect. You're going to have roadblocks, and like you're going to have a little injury that lasts for 3 or 4 days and you have to take time off, and then you're back to running and feeling good. Or you're going to get sick, or your kids are going to have a week that's just like their schedule is really wild and crazy, and you have family issues going on, and yeah, things are just up in the air and it's harder to get training in. So just be good to yourself and listen to your body.
Yeah. It's definitely okay to have a setback here or there.
Yeah.
Like she said, I've had a lot. I've had like really bad sicknesses. I've had times where work was super, super busy, and I had a lower mileage or not be able to even run for certain parts of the last semester of training. But I'm still fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, that's why I'm excited for this Boston build, even though it's been a little bit of a tough ride, or there's like a little bit of a setback right now. It's going to be really fun for building up to Boston, I think. And just show lots of perseverance and hopefully be an inspiring story to all of you out there.
Speaking of inspiring, no, that's not connected at all.
This isn't
Nutrition.
Inspiring. Good try trying to connect it.
Speaking of snow, nutrition. Yeah. And before we get into some of the debunking of myths, we kind of want to give like an honest, what are our like views and how do we eat and how do we view food? Because I think the reality, as we plan for this, we're like, man, this is a really broad subject, and there's not as many like true right answers as you might think. There's definitely some like gray area, some yellow flags, not red flags, to certain foods and what you're training for. So much of it is dependent on the individual, and health can look very different from person to person. So we want to keep all that in mind as we talk about these things, but we'll kind of give an overview of like how we eat in a general week, what we're thinking about as we're eating, and maybe some of our like favorite meals and go-tos in that process. So we can start with the pro athlete, who will have maybe the more nutritionally correct answer. But here's the reality, is like whatever we're both eating is what we're using to perform at the levels we're performing at.
Yeah.
So, someone could say, oh, well, Rachel eats that, or she doesn't eat that, what the heck? And it's like, okay, she's a pro athlete, so you can just like suck it up and realize that it's working for her.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work for you, but it's working for a pro athlete. For me, I'm going for the 250 project, which is significantly easier to do than be a professional athlete, but it's still like balancing strength and endurance at a pretty like respectable level. So it goes to show again, I don't think my diet's perfect. I don't think probably anyone's diet is perfect. What does that even mean? But these are the things that we have used like legitimately to work for us, and maybe steal the things that apply to you. But then there might be things where you're like, that is really dumb. I don't like that for me. Then don't do it. Like, figure out what works best for you. We figure out what works best for us.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't necessarily say that the 250 project is harder or is easier than being a pro runner, because I think Drew is pushing himself and his body really hard, and I'm also doing the same thing. And we're both just trying to be the best at what we're doing. Like he's trying to lift really heavy and run really fast, and I'm trying to run really fast in mountains and stuff. And there's other people who are trying to run really fast on the roads. So whatever you're doing, you're probably also pushing your body to the max. And that means that you have to refuel for it really well. But as Drew was saying, find what works for you. It's not going to be the exact same for everybody, but there are a few guidelines kind of to go by, especially if you're a runner. So this is really geared towards runners and not towards people that are like sedentary or not moving around or anything like that.
Yeah, you can't outrun the law of thermodynamics. You know, it's basic macros in, or not macros. What am I saying? Calories in. Yeah.
You got it.
Calories in, calories out. You
Yeah.
can't, like, if you want to keep weight, you have to stay within your caloric range of what your body needs to survive. If you want to gain weight, you have to go over that line. If you want to lose weight, you have to like eat less calories. So it really is dependent on your goal. And ideally, you're like at the body weight range that you want to be, and you just eat healthy and you feel good, and you're not starving yourself and you're not super stuffed all the time. You just feel comfortable. Like, I think in a perfect world, health is a sign of like, oh, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And I know people could take that to the extreme, and they're like, well, comfort to me is eating 3 pizzas at every sitting. And it's like, well, it's not going to be that type of comfort. This is like performance comfort, where you're like, wow, I can be active. I can go do anything. Like if someone comes up to me and says, hey, do you want to go do, or hey, can you do, before they finish the sentence, you're like, yeah, I can do that.
Can you play tennis with me?
You know instantly the answer is yes, because you're like, my body can do anything I want it to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it, I think. And yeah, just not feeling like you're always starving or you're always like just so full from overeating, I think is a good side too. Mostly for runners. I feel like a lot of runners, which this is a myth that we'll debunk, they're thinking that lighter is faster, and we're going to debunk that myth. So I think that for runners, it goes kind of more on that side instead of the overeating side. And that can be a problem in our sport, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. For now, we're going to talk a little bit about our diets. So yeah, I'm running professionally. Like I said, I hit 100 miles last week, so I'm doing a lot of running and a lot of just working out, and it's up and down mountains too. So it's a lot different than just running flat on the road, because it's like 100 miles with a lot of vert in it mixed in too. So yeah, I'm working out a ton, and I usually try to eat probably like 5 or 6 times a day. I'll eat breakfast in the morning. Sometimes I'll have a snack right after a really hard workout, like some kind of protein thing just to recover. Or I'll have that like mid-afternoon or something. Usually I'll have like a protein hit at some point in the day. I eat lunch, dinner, usually a snack after dinner, or like desserty type thing. I really like this one ice cream right now, and I can't remember the name of it, but I usually have ice cream at night before I go to sleep because it's really good. And I think that it's not a bad thing to be having like dessert while you're training. And I need those calories too, I think, because I'm just running so much. So yeah, I try to get in about 100 grams of protein a day, and I try to make sure that I have carbs, some fat, and some protein in every single meal.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah.
When you think of general foods, you listed some of the ones that you eat. If you go into a grocery store, how are you thinking, like, oh, these are the types of foods I'm looking for?
Yeah. So for me, a couple of years ago, I started having really bad stomach problems, and I figured out that I am lactose intolerant and like gluten intolerant too. So I can't eat things with like wheat and gluten in it, and I can't eat milk products and dairy products. I guess dairy intolerant is better than lactose intolerant. But yeah, any dairy products and any like gluten I can't eat. So that has like made me have a major shift in my nutrition and how I'm eating, because yeah, I was eating a lot of dairy and gluten stuff. So that's kind of like what I have to look for a little bit more in the store is just things that don't have gluten in them, don't have any dairy in them, which actually narrows down my choices a lot. But there are some really good like gluten-free pasta options. We have chili a lot. We have like rice and like some type of meat a lot. I love eating popcorn, so that is great too. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Super helpful.
Yeah, those are some of my staples probably.
Yeah, she eats those a lot. And I think something to be said for Rachel, which I don't know how she does this, but it's impressive to me, is that she can find like a small few meals that she does enjoy or that like meet her nutritional needs, and she'll just eat those forever.
Yeah, I'm very good at just locking into something and like not changing it a ton, which I don't know. I think sometimes it's a good thing because then I don't have to make a ton of choices, and I genuinely enjoy the foods that I'm eating. If I were hating my life, then I think it would be good to switch it up. But like I feel really great off of the foods that I'm eating, and I feel like they are keeping me healthy. I haven't had a major injury in a while, and I'm running well. So those are all good signs that it's working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she's slowly over the past couple of years, because doctors either were slow to figure out what was wrong with her or just had no idea. So she had to kind of do a lot of this herself and figure out like what can I eat, what can I not eat, and just kind of tested things of like, does this make me feel bad when I run? Does this give me stomach issues when I'm in the middle of a workout? And slowly over time, you've like learned probably more about your body and what you can eat and what you can't eat. And she slowly cut out different things, added in other things. And now you're probably in like the best place that you've ever been with food since it was a problem. And now you don't have like any stomach issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, just a couple weeks ago, so I was talking with one of my athletes that I coach on the phone, and they were talking about how they are gluten intolerant as well. And they were having stomach issues and cut out gluten, and it was a little bit better, but then it was still like kind of an issue sometimes. And so they were like, what is the problem? And they read somewhere that coffee has a protein that's very similar to the protein in gluten that your body like doesn't like if you're gluten intolerant. And so they tried cutting out coffee, and it instantly like helped them. And so I was like, well, I'll try that, because that was a similar thing to me. It was like I was having like, my stomach was pretty good and it wasn't too much of a problem, but when I was running like really, really fast for a long time and doing like a road workout or something like that, or even a really long run, sometimes I would have stomach issues. And so I decided to cut out coffee, which was really tough because I love coffee, but it's been worth it, and I haven't had stomach issues, which is awesome. So right now I'm sipping on some tea, and I found tea that's caffeinated, which I don't love as much as coffee. So I'm pretty sad about this, but I'm very happy that my stomach is not a problem anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's tough. You've had to give up some foods that you really, really liked. And it seems to me, from the outside looking in, that in the pro running world, a lot of the athletes have some kind of dietary restriction.
Yeah, totally.
Like, not of their own choosing. Like, so many people are intolerant to some food source.
Yeah, my roommate from Worlds had the exact same thing that I have, where she's dairy and gluten intolerant.
Yeah.
So. And
I don't know exactly why that is. Do you have like an hypothesis, or?
I don't know. Well, for me, I feel like it's not so bad when I'm just sitting around and lounging. Like, if I ate something with dairy in it, I don't think I would immediately just have this terrible reaction. Like, I know we have friends that are super like dairy intolerant and like will go into anaphylactic shock if they have dairy, and I'm not like that. I would only probably feel it when I'm running. And so I think that there's just something about running and the jostling motion and all of the pounding that it just can mess with your body if you're eating things that aren't like perfect for you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's my hypothesis, but I have no idea. So if there's any doctors out there that are listening to this.
All the MDs watching this.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know. Why is that an issue for me?
Yeah.
And can you fix it?
Yeah. I think that, if I had to guess, these are all speculative guesses, so don't take this for anything, except for our opinions. But yeah, I think that could play some of it. And to your point, like it's only happening to these really elite level athletes, and I wonder if it's happening to the average person too, but the average person isn't pushing their body hard enough to realize that it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like if you are lactose intolerant and you have some, but then you sit on the couch all day or go into your office job and sit behind a desk all day, it's like, did you know? You didn't have to like perform, so to speak, to see if it actually affected you negatively.
Yeah.
But maybe it does. Maybe it comes out in other ways. Maybe people out there are like, oh, my sleep's really bad, or like, oh, I'm really sore and achy and slow and lethargic. And it's like, maybe for you, it is like your diet and you just don't even realize it because you're not pushing your body in the gym or on the roads or in the pool or whatever your sport is.
Yeah, exactly. So pay attention just to how you're feeling in general in life too, and that can be a good cue for you as well. I know when I started having stomach issues, my track season that year was terrible, and I'm sure that nutrition had something to do with that. I think I was also under a lot of stress, and so that combined with not really being able to eat nutritionally how I needed to so that my body could absorb what I was actually eating, probably was a huge part in why I absolutely bombed that track season.
That's tough.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, pay attention to your body, listen to it. If you're having stomach issues, figure it out, go to a doctor. That's probably the best thing. Or just try different things, like try taking out gluten, seeing if that works. Try taking out dairy, seeing if that works. You know, you can do little experiments on yourself, and that's what I did to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier when you have some kind of like flat line test that you can run it through.
Yeah.
You know, like we're running almost every day or in the gym almost every day, so it's easier for us to monitor performance because we can go in and say, okay, I ran easy 5 miles yesterday, felt this way. Ran easy 5 miles this way and felt terrible. What changed? Was my sleep the same? Was my nutrition the same? Did I drink enough water? Like you can look, because between easy run to easy run, you shouldn't feel that much different.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
shouldn't be sore from the easy run the day before.
Right.
So if you feel dramatically worse or better, like think through what you ate and you're just like life.
Yeah, pay attention to those things.
Yeah. Those are the things that can make a big difference.
Yeah, your body definitely gives you cues for sure. Yeah. What about your diet?
Yeah, so this is the worst example. But this is I like this because I think this is like a realistic standard that I think people could have.
Yeah.
I believe in more like a 70-30 model.
Yeah.
Where I eat clean, healthy, whole foods 70% of the time. And then 30% of the time I eat whatever I want. Like if it tastes good, looks good, I'm going to eat it. And I do this not as purely a runner. So I'm 6'3", 190. So not the typical body frame of a Boston marathoner. So that gives a little bit of background too, because I'm trying to also bench a lot and lift a lot. So I'm intentionally trying to be a little bit more filled in with a little bit more muscle mass than maybe the average long distance guy runner is. So in my mind, I know with calories in, calories out, I need to eat a lot of calories to maintain my weight. Because even if I ate like 2,500 calories, which might sound like a lot, I would lose weight like dramatically.
Yeah, you've done it before.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
So I have to eat a lot of food to just maintain running and lifting at the same time. So that's kind of why I eat in that way. And this is coming from someone who, until I started running training, I did not know almost anything about diet. Like nothing. I didn't know what a macro was. I didn't know what calories were. I didn't know what a TDEE calculator is. Like nothing. So this is definitely not coming from someone who was like really smart and really educated in this matter. This was me learning through, especially like lifting and like learning from bulking and cutting and how to gain muscle and how to gain strength. And then going from the lifting world to the running world of how to build endurance without feeling like you want to puke on every run because you ate something really bad right before. So a lot of this has been like just learned through personal experience. And that's why I think, again, we've said this the whole time, but like know yourself, know your body, because some of the things that I might do might be really bad ideas for other people. And some of the things I'll say are definitely not good for runners But in my mind, I'm not just a runner. I'm an athlete who's trying to do something very specific. So yeah, 70-30 model. A lot of the meals we share together. We have the classic. We call it the classic because we have it so often. But it's literally just salmon, rice, and asparagus. And it's like our favorite thing.
Yeah,
it might sound boring to you. It might sound good to you. We cook it well enough that it's not boring to us.
Right.
And that's like a staple that we'll have. So those are like the clean meals where it's just like a carb, a fat, a protein source, maybe some veggies or fruit. And I genuinely really like those cleaner meals, or I'll have just like a basic form of like meat, rice. I'll have the classic, I know this is oversaid in like the lifting community, but chicken, broccoli, and rice is like one of my favorite things.
Yeah, you have that a lot.
Have it a lot. So there's those things that are staples. I drink a lot of Gatorade because I hate water, which is another controversial thing. I get it, water's good for you, definitely be hydrated, but I also lose a lot of electrolytes and salt and sugar when I run and lift this much, and I just feel better when I'm a little bit more balanced in those areas, and I end up drinking more. I'd rather have like 5 Gatorades than like no water.
Yeah, whenever I see Drew drinking water, I know that something is wrong because he never drinks water. So if he's drinking water, it's like he's probably sick in some way, and I'm like, are you okay?
yeah, exactly. So, and again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just what I do that works. And this goes back to almost like the me rolling my ankle from playing tennis. It's like, what balance do you want to have in your life? If you want to be at the very, very best, I know if I wanted to be a little bit better at running, a little bit better at lifting, I probably would have to change my diet just a little bit and tweak a few things. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm seeing enough progress and I feel good and think I look good enough to stay in this zone right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like your goals and what you're willing to give up. In my mind, I'm like, that 30% keeps me enjoying life to the fullest. I can go out to a restaurant and eat and drink whatever I want. I can go to a friend's house and not be like, oh no, sorry, I'm not gonna have that soda, I'm not gonna eat that pizza because I'm a really important athlete. You know, it's like, no, I'm gonna just like enjoy myself. I love sugar, I'll have candy or sweets, so those things help me enjoy life more. And honestly, it's a twofold win because they help me enjoy life more, but they help me hit my caloric intake goals because they're so high. I probably have to eat around 35 to 4,000 calories a day to maintain my current physique, which is a lot of calories. So,
yeah. So some candy really helps with that.
Yeah,
because
some candy really helps.
Candy isn't as filling as other things, so it's just like straight sugar. So it helps a lot.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's great. And so you can kind of see from both of us, it's totally different based on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. And I would say I still eat a ton every day. I don't really track exactly like my the calories that I'm eating, but I probably eat around 3,000 to 3,500 a day just because I'm training so much. So
yeah, that's another thing. In the past, I had my FitnessPal, which is a helpful app if you're trying to understand these things like food and what's in your food and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I got a little too legalistic with it where I had like an Excel spreadsheet and I was keeping track of every single macronutrient and converting it into how many calories I needed to lose weight or gain weight. And it was just like not fun. It's just like not a fun life to live. So I think doing it for months and it working and seeing like, wow, there are like laws to food and weight gain and loss that work. That was really helpful and very educational for me. But then I kind of like got rid of a lot of the daily routine of like logging every single thing and more just like enjoying food and kind of feeling it from my body and being more in touch with, okay, I weigh myself when I go to the gym so I can see like, oh wow, I'm up 5 pounds or down 5 pounds, something like I should adjust and I know how to adjust. But for the most part, I feel like we both just kind of stay in the range that we want to be because we kind of know our bodies at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like that's a very like lifter thing to do, is tracking exact macros and calories. But I know for me, like I had an eating disorder in college and I was more like tracking calories and stuff. And I just didn't feel like that was a healthy thing for me to be doing. And so that's why I don't do it anymore, just because I would rather just listen to my body and see how it's feeling and like eat what I need to eat and what I know that I need to eat, instead of trying to be so just like locked into hitting a number for the day. And I feel like from the athletes that I've talked with that I coach or just run with and stuff, a lot of them have that same mindset. If you've had something like an eating disorder or something like that in the past, it's probably not as healthy to be tracking your nutrition, and it's probably way better to just be eating what your body needs and feeling that out for yourself. And I would also lean on the side, if you're a runner, of eating like a little bit too much than of under eating, because under eating is just going to lead to energy deficiencies and probably injuries. You're going to burn out or get injured. So I would always lean on the side of eating a little bit too much.
Yeah, especially if you're running a lot.
Yeah, especially if you're running a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, so those are some general things. But these kind of naturally lead into our next topics, which are the myths of the fitness world. Probably leaning more so of the running world, but I'll talk a little bit from my perspective on the lifting world as well.
Yeah.
Of some things that you hear in the media a lot. And some of these things are like, you know, they say the best lies are 90% true. Some of these have truth to it in very specific cases, which is why none of these are like purely right or purely wrong.
Yeah.
Some are like maybe more right or more wrong for the individual, but it comes back to the person.
Right, exactly.
So we'll just go through the list.
Yeah, first myth.
Carbs are bad. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that is the first myth. And I think we hear this a lot in the fitness world, or maybe not even fitness, just like the nutrition advice world. I don't even know what it is, but that carbs are bad for you and that you shouldn't be eating carbs because they just make you like fat or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the people in that realm, like the nutrition realm, actually know what a carb is. Because I think a lot of times they're like, oh, don't eat like ice cream because it has so many carbs in it. And like ice cream isn't just carbs, like it has other macros in it as well. So I think that people think of carbs as like sweets and junk food sometimes, and there are carbs in those things, but they're also made up of a lot of different things.
Yeah, there's carbs in rice.
Yeah, exactly. Rice is fully carbs. Vegetables are fully carbs.
Yeah.
So people will be like, well, I don't want to eat as many carbs. I'm going to try to eat like more vegetables and stuff. And it's like, vegetables are only carbs. That is what they are like made out of. So it doesn't make sense to be saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not equal, which is, again, a lot of these problems, because we're going to talk about some of the other macronutrients, but it's not as simple as like carbs, like you're saying. It's not like carbs equals bad.
Yeah.
Or good. Like it depends on the source on which they come from. There's like cleaner sources, less clean sources where it's like purely like all carbs, and somewhere it's like some carbs and then a lot of fat, a lot of trans fat, a lot of saturated fat, a lot of preservatives. So it's like you got to take more into the equation than just like, does it have carbs in it?
Yeah, exactly. But in general, I think endurance athletes need carbs. So if you are a runner, you need carbs. That is our energy source. It is what is converted to energy most efficiently. So that's what you need. If you are in the middle of a marathon and you take a gel, that gel is made up pretty much entirely of carbohydrates. And that's because your body digests carbs very, very quickly and you use them for energy immediately. So you need carbs as a runner. If you're not eating carbs as an endurance athlete, then you're probably going to just keep bonking on runs because you have no energy.
Yeah. Which is why you'll see some people, like, yeah, you'll have gels, and people just instantly are like, oh, it's gels, it's like a supplement, so it has to be like really good for you and really like smart. And it's like, yeah, it's like 100 carbs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just
100 calories of carbs, that's it.
Yeah, and it's sugar. It's not even like a complex carb that takes a lot of time to digest, like something like a sweet potato that has more fiber in it and is more of a complex carb instead of like a fast acting carb. So and that's what you need in the middle of a race is just those fast acting carbs. And it's basically like candy if you're taking a gel. I actually ran out of gels and I asked Drew to buy some gummy bears because we had ordered some more Huma gels and they hadn't come in yet, but I needed something fuel for a longer run that I was doing. And so I just went to the store and got some candy because
I know it sounds crazy because
Yeah.
I feel like there's this mindset of like, oh, candy is bad and sugar is wrong, and it's just like I don't know where we get it. I guess it depends on the lifestyle. Like if all you eat is sugar and if you're not active in your life, then yeah, that's bad, but not being active is bad. Like so there's just a lot of weird myths attached to this one.
Right. So carbs are not bad and you actually need them, especially if you're an endurance athlete. They're going to be giving you energy. And I would also say like fuel up with carbs before your bigger workouts, especially your long runs. So the night before, make sure that you're eating like a meal with a lot of carbs in it, whether that's pasta or rice or something like that. And you don't have to overload to where you're just like feeling so heavy and bad because you ate so much, but have some carbs in that meal before your long run.
Yeah, which that kind of brings up a good point. I've heard some people say that they don't like carbs because there is like a boost or maybe even an insulin boost to some people of like, oh, I've had this high level of energy, but then there's this drop and it's almost like coffee to some people or high levels of sugar to some people is like this high and then this low, and they don't want the low.
Right.
But I think ways to combat that is to, in general, eat a balanced diet and eat when you're hungry.
Yeah.
So there should never be a time of the day where you are starving. If you're eating throughout the day, snacking on the like clean foods throughout the day, then the carb source isn't gonna like have a chance to drop off because you'll have another meal before it hits rock bottom.
Yeah, so then you'll be more like this instead of like huge spikes in energy. Yeah.
So some people might have like a big sugary something and then not eat again for a long time. And they'll feel like crap before they eat the next meal.
Yeah, and that's when you have the sugar spike that you're thinking of.
Or they might have the sugar spike by they have 5 donuts and then they sit down and don't do anything. Yeah. It's like if you eat something really sugary and then are using it as fuel, you're burning it out. Like you're using that source as like a fuel source instead of it just like doing nothing really for you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, carbs are good, especially for endurance athletes, I think is the point of debunking that myth. So second myth to debunk is that fat is bad.
A lot of these end with something is bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fat is bad. Similar. I feel like people are like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. In my opinion, I'm like, I can have both. It's more about moderation than anything.
Yeah.
Fat isn't necessarily evil. I think sometimes why people will say fat is bad is because it has more calories than the other 2 macronutrients. So the 3 macros, protein, carbs, fat. For protein and carbs, just 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. And then for fat, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So people are like, whoa, it's like over double the calories. And they know that more calories, if you eat over your maintenance, you can gain weight and then get fat and get out of shape. But I think that's just like too simplistic. It's like, yeah, it has more calories in it, but that alone doesn't make it evil. It just means it has more calories in it.
Exactly, yeah. And you need fat because fat is what is going to help you absorb the vitamins and nutrients that are in your food. So if you have no fat in your diet, you're not going to be absorbing things as well. So I would say you don't need a ton of fat like in your diet, but you definitely need some. And so I try to have some with every meal.
Yeah. I think for me too, and probably for anyone, is because of what I just said, and it has more calories. If you are trying to meet a goal, if you're trying to get to 3,000 calories for that day, incorporating some of those healthy fats, like avocados,
ton
of
so
fat,
good.
right? A lot of like nuts and legumes, ton of fat. And those aren't traditional, like, oh, that's not cake though. It's like, yeah, there's fat in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So if you have an avocado toast or something, that's going to help you get to your caloric goals of the day a lot easier than if you cut out all fat and you're just relying on protein and carbs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think a good way to just add some fat into each meal is cooking with some as well. So like cook with olive oil or cook with butter or something like that, that has a little bit more fat in it, and you can get that in as well. There's also meats that have fat in it, like salmon is one of our favorite meals, like we were saying, to have, and salmon has a lot of fat in it, but it's the good kind of fat. It's like omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for you, and they are in salmon, they're in almonds, and a lot of nuts, and olive oil, and stuff like that. So those fats are really good for you, and that's what's going to help you absorb some of those nutrients.
Yeah, and it's helpful to know these things maybe as someone who's like trying to lose weight too, because I didn't know this, but like olive oil has a ton of calories and fat in it. Like in just a tablespoon, it's like hundreds of calories. So to know these things, you might be someone who you're like, I'm eating so healthy, I'm like eating clean whole foods and I'm just gaining weight. And it's like the fat sources or the calorie sources that you're eating might not be bad foods. You might just be eating too much of good foods.
Yeah.
Of whole foods, if good and whole foods kind of align. So just being aware of what you're putting in your body, you could accidentally be doing it without even realizing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
But in general, I think for runners or endurance athletes in general, losing weight isn't usually the problem. It's like maintaining or gaining weight to be in that healthy range where you're not getting injured, where you feel like you have energy and have a fuel source.
Yeah, it's really hard, I think, as a runner to overeat, because you'll probably feel it on your run. Like your stomach just won't feel that great if you're like eating way over what you need to be eating, or you're just, I don't know, you can't do it because you're running too much. Yeah. So
fat is not bad.
Yeah, fat is not bad at all.
We need it. We need to have a certain level of fat on our body. Yeah. Just as humans to stay alive.
Yeah, especially for women too. I think a lot of times women that don't have their periods and they're endurance athletes, a lot of times it's because they're not eating enough. And sometimes it's specifically because they're not eating enough fat. So that is very, very essential for you. And like I said, if you're not eating enough fat, you're not absorbing those nutrients, your hormones can get off. So you will have like hormone imbalances and stuff like that. And that can lead to like missed periods and just like higher cortisol levels, which means that you're stressed more and your body's not recovering as well. It can lead to injuries. So fat is really, really important, especially for women that are endurance athletes too.
Yeah, being too lean can be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
For either gender, but definitely for women it can affect them.
Sweet. Well, that covers our debunking nutrition myths for this week. And thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you comment if you have questions or email us, subscribe, like this video for more running content, and thanks for watching.